So do you want to get an unfiltered view of my lawn? Well, stick around and I'm going to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. What's going on, folks? Welcome back to the Lawn Shark channel. So today is a very windy day, so I apologize for any noise that this video picks up. But I wanted to give you guys a unfiltered view of what's going on in the lawn today. So let's start by looking at the good. So when we look at the front lawn and all of this beautiful Bermuda, especially after lawn leveling, it looks pretty freaking amazing, I'd say. We don't have any more nut sedge over here. The lawn is pretty flat, and I haven't mowed in a few days, but as you can tell, it looks great. When we get into the shade, you can really see how good this looks. But at the same time, we do have a couple of little minor thin spots, especially around here. Now, if you remember, right here we had a bunch of fungus issues, but it looks like it has cleared up quite a bit, which brings me to the bad. So when we hop on over to here, this is where we had a lot of thin stuff happening simply because of all the fungus, especially way down there. So I wouldn't say it's horrible, which is why it's not ugly, but it is bad because it is going to take some time for all of this to fill in. But overall, I think it's doing a pretty good job. It was a lot worse. Probably the worst spot was right here where the drainage is. It was a lot bigger, so I do think it's filling in, but it's not terrible. And there's one other spot that looks kind of bad that I wanted to show you, and that's over here on the other side by the fence. And as you can see right here, this is thin, and I think there's a couple of reasons here. Number one, we did have some overflow from the fungus issue that we were having in the backyard. But then the other thing is that the sun is shifting for the winter, which means that it is actually on the other side of the house. And so we're getting shade early here, which is making this area a little bit difficult to grow. We get tons of shade from this crepe myrtle right here, and that's causing us to have a little bit of a growing problem here because we're not getting full sun. And as you guys know, Bermuda really likes the heat. It also really likes the sun. So when we're talking about shade, it's gonna have a hard time, but I think it'll be okay for this year. I'm not gonna really sweat it because we've got some stuff that we're gonna do for the fall and do some perennial ryegrass overseeding up here. So I am not worried about it at all right now. It's something I'll just fill in next year and we'll be in good shape. So that pretty much shows you what the front looks like and what the good and a little bit of the bad. Now let me show you what the ugly looks like. All right, so when we get over here to the side of the house, it doesn't look too bad from far away, but as you get closer, it is definitely thin. And this is where I have a ton of shade. This is where I had a ton of issues with all of the fungus. And so as we walk through here, you guys can really see how bad this is. And then right here is really bad. So I was getting some growth when we put down some seed and it was doing okay. However, the problem is that we knew, and you guys have heard this before, you should never plant seed during the summer months, and simply because it gets too hot. And even though the weather was good when we started this project and it was actually growing in, unfortunately we had what I was afraid was gonna happen, which is we had a week straight of temperatures in the upper 90s last week. And pretty much all the progress that we made went away in this back section. I'm gonna show you, but it looks a little bit ugly because we've had a lot of rain lately, a lot of leaves on the ground, but take a look. So this area, and again, I apologize for all of the shade, but this area here looks pretty good. It's actually growing really nicely. All of this fescue is nice and thick. In fact, it looks really good all the way back there. And back there, if you remember, we had the leftover Bermuda last year, the sod, and then I also overseeded with fescue, so it's looking pretty good. But when we look around this way, the farther up that we go back up to this area, and this is actually an uphill incline, but the farther up we go back in there, into that flat spot over there, that is not good. But I'm not too worried about it because the prime time for us to be seeding is in the fall, and we're right around the corner. Temperature today is actually really good. We had, I think, mid 80s, but it's super dry. And I think the temperatures are starting to come down a little bit. Next week, we're supposed to be back in the 90s. We're starting to see a lot more fluctuation in temperatures, which means that fall is coming. I'm not going to do anything until the end of September. but we will be able to do a really good overseeding back here. And so I'm not really super worried. For now, the only thing we can do is do some really good maintenance, and I can do a lot of cleanup, which will make this look a lot better. So that's what we're gonna do now. Let's get a mow in. I'm gonna mow back here. I'm gonna bag all this stuff because I wanna pick up all these leaves. We'll also be collecting all the clippings in the front because I want that to be nice and clean, especially since I haven't mowed in a while, and it'll make it look really good. So let's get to that. Let's mow back here first. We'll bag it all up. I'll give you a show, and then we'll get up to the front. All right, so mowing looks better, but it's still pretty freaking ugly, especially when you look at this over here. So we're just gonna ignore that part and we're gonna go down here where it actually looks pretty good. So the fescue over here looks really good, and you know that because it was not affected by any of the fungus issues that we had elsewhere. And so it's good, it's in good shape. We had a little bit of fungus back in here, but because it's a good blend of fescue and Bermuda, it filled in nicely, so you don't even see it. I think we're in good shape over here. It's not perfect, but nobody comes over here anyway, so I think we're okay. But when we look back this way, I mean, I've seen better lawns, but considering the ordeal that we went through, I will take the fact that this just needs a nice overseed, and over there we'll probably need a pretty good renovation. I'm not gonna rip it out, I'm not gonna kill it all, but I am gonna do a bunch of dethatching here to take out all this brown, get some bare dirt, and then get some seed. But we're probably at least a month away from that. September 1st is tomorrow, which means that I'd say at the end of the month we will get to this project. I will take having this section over having to do the whole thing any day of the week, because I've already done that twice and I don't want to touch this, but I will take care of that. All right, so now let's take care of the front. Let's get that mowed. I'm excited about mowing the front. I think that grass is going to be looking really good once we get a nice chop to it. So let's do it. All right, well, stripes are fairly straight. We do have a little bit of scalping right there. That's what happens when you wait too long to mow. And then the other thing I want to point out, you see that dark spot right there. That's where that old stump was. And I've been drying out a bunch of sand, so I'm gonna actually put some in there today and try and level that out a little bit. Just a little minor leveling, but nothing crazy. I would say that the front looks pretty good. I just need to keep the mowing up and not let it get too long so that we don't get the scalping that you see right here. So should be in pretty good shape. So that's pretty much it. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly of my lawn. And unfortunately, the ugly is pretty ugly and the good is pretty good. I guess that's fortunate, not unfortunate, but I just want to share with you guys where we are. From now until the end of September, when we do our overseed for the fall, I'm gonna pretty much just try and maintain this. I do need to get some fertilizer in here, and that'll probably be something that we'll do this weekend. And then we'll also do a little bit of RGS and humic, and I'll bring you that video next week. But we'll work on that this weekend. So the back, we just got to ignore it for now and know that it's going to come back in the fall. And then in the front, we are just going to continue to maintain. But I'm really, really happy with the choice to do sod last year. This Bermuda is fantastic. I love the way it has filled in. I love the way it looks. Great texture, great color. And it stripes really well, which Bermuda isn't really known for striping that well, but this one has done pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with it. Hopefully you guys liked this video. Hopefully you like the way this video turned out with a little bit of an update, and you can see that we've made some pretty good progress. And if you like it, don't forget to like it. Don't forget to subscribe if I've earned your subscription. And if you want to be notified of future videos, don't forget to hit that bell. And we'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned. Lots more to come. Season isn't over yet. We got at least 2 more months. So hang tight and we will be back.